Flip, 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 Flip Weekly.
Hello and welcome to the Flip Weekly podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a flipping podcast all about flipping, reselling, going to thrift stores, going to garage sales, finding things on Facebook Marketplace and trying to make some money. My name is Matt. I am a Sydney-based reseller. I've been doing this now for over 2 years. I go to those thrift stores and I try and find items for, $1 to sell for 100, if not more. We've had some good luck over the past few years, but it's a new year. It's 2026. People are slowly getting back into the swing of things. I don't know about you, but my inbox has been inundated with people. From my other gig, people coming back to the office and basically wanting my time and attention. You get those emails that you put off from last year when you're like, let's, swing back into this in the new year. Now the new year is here, and I just wish that we could, swing the pendulum back the other way, because I'm not ready for this year. I really am not. I don't want this year to, formally start. It's already the 15th of January. I feel like I'm still in holiday mode. I feel like I don't want to be doing anything. I just want to be out thrifting. I just want to be on my phone scrolling and stalking Facebook Marketplace, trying to find amazing deals. I just want to be, driving from thrift store to thrift store, rotting in the car with this Sydney weather, and just, spending time rummaging through all the junk in thrift stores, and in most cases leaving with nothing. But sometimes we get some good shit, right? That's what I want to be spending my time doing. And whilst we can't spend every single day 24/7 rummaging through shit in junk stores, thrift stores, we can go there a couple of times a week, maybe a bit more if we're low on content and even low on money, right? You don't need much money to be doing this as a side hustle. You only need a few dollars. I'm going to run through some stuff later on, which have been Facebook Marketplace finds that I've picked up for $5, and each of them are going to sell for over $100. So those Facebook Marketplace deals, it sort of shows that you don't need money. You don't need much money to be doing this. And that is the same thing with the thrift store finds. Most of these items have been picked up for under $5 and reselling for so much money. So all you need for this side hustle, if you're new, is a car or a mode of transportation to get to these thrift stores, and like $5. Most people can scrounge together $5, and if you can't, go to the local Savers at Camperdown and stand out the front with a Gatorade bottle full of detergent and water. Like 3 parts, let's say 3 parts water, 1 part detergent, or if you're going to the Savers at Hoxton Park, maybe 9/10 water and just the tiniest splash of detergent, and wash windows. You make good money doing that. There was an interview I saw the other day of somebody who said that they can make like $200 a day washing windows. So do that and then go into Savers and try and find some shit. I don't know what it is about Savers that brings out the people trying to make money washing windows, but I guess it works. Every time I'm there, I give them money if I have any cash. I feel bad. There was one the other day, and the only thing I had in my wallet was like $15 left on a Bunnings gift card that I got for Christmas. I was legit about to ask him, do you take gift cards? Dumb, I know. But anyway, you don't need much to do this as a side hustle. That's really all I'm saying. And so we're going to run through some of the amazing finds for this week. You would have seen the title of this podcast. We had a really cool score. Now, we're not talking something that's going to change lives. This isn't life-changing money, but this is a find that, people would put it on their bookshelf and just keep forever. Not me, though. Not me. I'm not a collector. As much as I like the book, it's not for me. It would help if I was able to read it too, Then we're going to go through everything that's sold for this week, give you some updates about some returns that I've had, setting my eBay account into the negative. That's not a good way to start 2026, is it? Having all of your accounts that focus on money being in the negative. How does that work, man? We have eBay account in the negative. We probably have bank accounts in the negative if I would have the balls to jump on and to check the account balance, right? So let's run through all that, but first, let's talk about this book that I found that is the main topic of this podcast, or at least the big thing of this podcast, right? So when I was younger, you know when you go through different phases of being a kid where you start to watch, I don't know, wrestling, WWF wrestling, and you're like, I don't know, and I remember saying this to my friend, I don't think I would ever get sick of watching wrestling. I remember saying to my friend at the time, like, can you imagine a world where we're not into wrestling? And you just talk and you're like, no, of course not. You know, you move past that stage though, you move on to something else. Pokemon comes around, that's a huge craze. Everyone is into Pokemon, getting the Pokemon cards, playing the games. Then you move on to something else. I'm trying to think what the next thing was. Bratz dolls and Hello Kitty. No, I'm just kidding. That's what I'm into now, apparently. Look, the next thing really was The Lord of the Rings. I was growing up and the Lord of the Rings movies have come out. Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, they were on DVD and VHS. By the time I became, I guess, sentient in my brain, you know, sentient in the space of being able to watch a movie and retaining the knowledge and knowing that, oh, this is something that I'm into, right? So the WWE figures, the action figures that I had, they all get thrown out. Or I have no idea what the fuck happened to them. I had an entire storage container full of them. Something happens to them. Maybe my mum pawned them. And in come the Lord of the Rings action figures. They come to me. Now, I'm not a collector. I'm a dumb kid, so I take them all out of the packaging and I play with them, you know, have little fights with them, as you do as a kid. I think I'm about 12 or 13 at the time. I think I was 12. You put up, or you get your parents to put up a poster on the wall. I remember I had a poster of the Lord of the Rings on my wall. I just became sort of obsessed with it, like you do when you're a fucking kid, right? So the first two movies have come out, and I'm watching them with my dad. I'm too young to be able to sit through like an entire movie, so we're watching them in parts. This is the dynamic when I was a kid, was that my mum and us kids, me and my two sisters, we would have our own lounge room, right? And then my dad, being the fucking recluse that he is, or was, had his own room, little cinema room, right? Like a little theater room. I'm not talking like we had like a fucking movie theater in our house. No, this is just like a dedicated place where I guess he could be away from us for some peace and quiet, because I guess we were horrible fucking kids, right? So I don't know how it came to be, but he must have invited me into his theater room one night, and we started watching Fellowship of the Ring. Now I can't sit through a full, I guess, 2-hour movie at that point in time. So this turned into like a week-long affair where I would go in there and we would watch bits and pieces of Fellowship of the Ring, and then would finish that, and then I would have been like, wow, this is so cool, I can't wait to know what happens next. And then Dad was like, well, let's watch the next one. And my brain would have just exploded thinking, I can't believe there's another one. Let's put the next one on. And we started watching that over the next few nights. Now, this would have been the worst fucking way to watch a movie. I'm sure he had already seen it, but can you imagine watching like 25, 30 minutes of Lord of the Rings at a time? With that said, I think kids have gotten worse. I think kids now, don't quote me on this, I think people watch full movies on TikTok, right? In little 3-minute increments. I swear I've heard that. I don't want to be spreading disinformation, but the next generation is fucked. So we do this. We finish the Two Towers, and I guess I'm looking at Dad and I'm like, come on, like there must be more. This is like a world that just keeps going, right? And he's like, no, there's no more. The next one, The Return of the King, hasn't come out yet. So I get disappointed, you know, I probably sulk like a fucking bitch. And he says to me, but it's coming out in the theater, in the cinema. We can go and see it if you'd like. And I'm like, well, yeah, of course I want to go see it. This is a world that I fucking love. I want to go see it at the cinema when it comes out. Now, looking back in my memory, I cannot remember going to see any film in the cinema before this. This may have been the first time I ever went to a cinema, or the first time I can recollect going to a cinema. So we go there. It must have been on the opening night or the night after or whatever, because I remember it was late at night. hundreds of people in the theater. It was completely packed. I remember sitting next to people and thinking like, oh, this is weird. Like, why is there this guy sitting next to me? Can't we, have our own seat or be separated? And we're up the front too. Maybe I had seen a movie before, because I remember thinking like, this is weird. Why is there so many people? Anyway, we see The Lord of the Rings Return the King. My mind was blown. I fucking loved it. I wanted to see it again and again and again. And somehow I was able to sit through like a 2.5 hour film. So that's where my love for The Lord of the Rings came from, is just this experience of seeing all of the films over like maybe a 6-week period and just having that experience and time with my father. And from there, loving it to this day. There's so many different things that I had in my possession about Lord of the Rings. I still have some of the stuff, I had my nan collected these Daily Telegraph pins of Lord of the Rings faces on like these pins in the shape of the ring for me every single week for like 18 weeks. You remember when newspapers had those little things to keep people coming back? She collected those for me, gave them to me, and then over the years that, I don't know what happened to it. Maybe mum pawned that too. Maybe mum pawned all my fucking cool shit as a kid. I don't know. And then it was only 12 months ago that I got an eBay gift voucher, and I thought, well, this is one thing I want to get again. And I bought it. I bought that Lord of the Rings pin collection. I put it on my shelf, and then I realized like I'm not a collector because this doesn't do anything for me. I like the memory more than I like having the pins. So that's my love for Lord of the Rings to this day. I hear it's coming out again, maybe this month in January. It's for a re-release. I think it's like 25-year re-release of Lord of the Rings. In some cinemas, they're having the extended edition marathons. I wish it was spread out over several days so I could go and see it, but I guess to this day, I don't want to be sitting in a theater for, I think it's almost 12 hours because it's starting at like 11 a.m. and going to 11 p.m. Lord of the Rings, we've established, is a big thing for me. I fucking love it. And when it comes to flipping, when it comes to buying items in a thrift store, J.R.R. Tolkien and Tolkien-related books are so incredibly sought after, popular, they're rare, they're expensive. If you find anything in a thrift store, Lord of the Rings related, and it's old, you can bet you're going to make a shit ton of money from it. I'm not saying I found like a first edition Lord of the Rings signed by Tolkien himself. No, I didn't find that. But what I did find was an incredibly rare book written by a professor who taught in the exact same school, and I'm pretty sure with the exact same syllabus as J.R.R. Tolkien. And this guy, really fucking smart guy, studied the same shit. This guy's name, let me get his name here for you. His name was Thomas Allen Shippey. Now, he is considered one of the world's most knowledgeable people and an expert on J.R.R. Tolkien. He wrote several books about Tolkien. He wrote books about the world building, about the lore, about the languages. This is a guy that's a scholar of Middle and Old English literature. So this guy knows his shit. He was born in India, grew up somewhere, I don't know, it doesn't matter where he grew up. He's education at Queen's College, taught at Oxford, and this guy is just a really, really smart guy when it comes to J.R.R. Tolkien. So he knows the mythology, everything about Lord of the Rings and Middle-earth. So he wrote a book back in the 80s, 1982, it was published, called The Road to Middle-earth. And this book is basically his entire brain, his entire knowledge of Tolkien and Middle-earth put into a book. And to this day in 2026, a lot of Tolkien fans and experts in literature, they consider this exact book to be the foundational text in Tolkien studies. And that, yes, that is a thing. Studying Tolkien, right? This is sort of like if you were a butcher and you created the sausage. You created the sausage. You found out how it all works, And you wrote a book about it years and years and years ago. And people want to become expert sausage makers to this day. What do? They buy your book. Now, if you're really into fucking sausages, then you want the first edition of the book, right? So I found this book in a Savers. I honestly don't know how I found it because the spine has no words or anything on it. I think what stood out to me is I remember hearing a story from a rare book collector, somebody that was buying books. They might have been answering a question about how to spot rare books. And one of the things they said was that a lot of older, rarer books have a plastic covering on them. Now, this doesn't mean for you to go out to a thrift store and look at and buy every single book that has a plastic covering on it, because in most cases, they're just library books, because library books put that protection on their books, obviously because they don't want the dust jackets, the integrity of the book to be ruined. But I saw this in the fiction section of Savers with nothing on the spine, and I pulled it out and I looked at the front of it and it said The Road to Middle-earth, T.A. Shippey. Now, despite my love for Lord of the Rings, I never read the books. I'm honestly not that smart enough to understand what Tolkien is talking about. I need somebody like a layman like Peter Jackson to turn it into a film so I can be like, oh, that's what they mean, right? I just can't, my brain can't process it. It's like giving a fucking toddler Cormac McCarthy's The Road, you know? I read that too and I was like, what the fuck is this guy on about? So I didn't know anything about this book. But when I saw The Road to Middle-earth and a cover that looked illustrated, like a very plain illustration, but with a really cool aesthetic to it, with the book covering on it, I thought this is obviously related to Lord of the Rings. It's Middle-earth. Sometimes my brain, like the fucking dyslexia, will be like The Road to to the Middle East. You know, I'm lucky I didn't put the back thinking it was a fucking book about conflict in the Middle East in the year 2020. But I pulled this out. I was really excited to see it. I opened it up, and on the first imprint page, you know, the page that has the copyright, it said first published in 1982 by George Allen and Unwin. Now, this is really get into the nuts and bolts of fucking Lord of the Rings book publishing, but Allen and Unwin is the book publishers that first printed the Lord of the Rings. And if you find Lord of the Rings books and you see Allen and Unwin on it, you know, and they're older, this is a really, really good sign that the book could potentially be valuable. So I went through the copyright information on the imprint page, and for all intents and purposes, it looked like a true first edition. Now, Allen and Unwin had offices all throughout, I mean, I was going to say the world, but they had one in London, they had one in the UK, Australia, etc. So if we see that it was first printed in Great Britain, in the UK, and then we see on the book that this particular version was printed in Australia, you know, this usually happens with Harry Potter first editions. You know, the very first Harry Potter Philosopher's Stone was printed in Great Britain. Now, there are technically first editions that you can find in thrift stores in Australia, but they're printed by, I think it's like Griffith Printing, and that's based in Australia. So it's not a true first edition. Nobody really gives a fuck about it, unless you're trying to complete like a first edition Australian version, which is sort of weird. But this book that I found was printed in Great Britain, first printed in 1982, first published in 1982. This is a true first edition, The Road to Middle-earth. I was about to say Middle East again. The Road to Middle-earth. So I buy it. I look up active listings while I'm there, and I can't see anything. I can see existing copies, like brand new copies printed to this day. They're going for like $25-$30, your standard book price. But I still buy it because it's just a cool book and it's old. And I'm thinking like maybe eBay doesn't have any, and maybe one of those, you know, rare book auction sites have one in them. So I'm going to check out, and as I'm walking out, I see the price. It's $3.49. Fucking nothing. You know, you're thinking, well, this wasn't behind the counter, or this wasn't in, you know, those little section of Savers where it's for quote unquote like rare or older books. It wasn't in that section. So I'm like, well, maybe Savers have looked into this and it's worth nothing, but still I buy it. It's in okay condition. It has some dust all around it. It has some dirt on the back, but on the front. But that doesn't really matter because it's on the plastic covering. So, you know, you can wipe it off. I check out, paid $3.50. And then I look up comps. Like I said, there was many active listings for The Road to Middle-earth. So what I did was I changed it to first edition. Road to Middle-earth first edition. No active listings. Oh, this is a hardcover book, by the way. Then I change it to sold listings, and I can see multiple. I can see there's a few there. This book routinely sells I guess I shouldn't say routinely because it is a rare book, but this book has multiple sold listings and they're all at the $200 mark. Now look, this isn't a Sonic $1,600 pickup, but what this is a really, really fucking cool, older, rare book, Tolkien related, that you just know the person that's going to buy it is going to treasure it, put it on their shelf, hopefully read it. Hopefully they're smarter than me and they can read and understand this thing. So I went ahead and I listed it up for sale on eBay. I've put it up for $200. It has multiple people watching it. It has views. It has all that. It's obviously going to sell for that amount of money because there's no other true first editions for sale on eBay, meaning we are the only person with this book on eBay right now. Now look, I am not a book expert. Like I said, I can barely read the fucking things, but using this data, using the eBay data, there is nothing that tells me that this isn't going to sell. You know what I mean? Like, there are sold listings, there's no active listings. Looking around, people talk about this book all the time, especially Tolkien fans. So why the fuck not? Why is this book not going to sell? That's usually what I try and ask myself when buying things. Like, why would this not sell? Because I want to talk myself out of buying shit. But when the answer routinely comes back to, well, there's no reason why it wouldn't sell, then you just fucking buy it. And so we spent $3.50, listed it for $200. And I guess this is just sort of proof that one, Savers doesn't really know what they're doing when it comes to older books. Two, that you can still find rare books in thrift stores that can sell for hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Three, you can turn $3.50 into $200. And look, you might be saying, well, it hasn't sold yet. Dude, it's going to sell. I guarantee it. Okay? And four, old Tolkien or anything related to Lord of the Rings is just an instant pickup. You know, if you want to learn more about older books, like the rare older books, there's this YouTube channel that is sort of in my rotation. And I'm going to tell you, actually, there's two of them. There's one with a younger guy, one with an older guy. I personally like the younger guy. Actually, no, I like both of them. I'm not going to discriminate. I'm going to tell you the channel name if I can find it, because these two people talk about rare books. And when you start to get an inkling of, you know, the books that they're buying and selling all the time, you can then put that into practice when you're going out to thrift stores. And look, I'm diverting you away from the podcast. Like, don't listen to me. I don't know fuck all about books. Now, these people aren't, you know, going into thrift stores, but it's still a good place to start. Now, the younger guy, he has 300,000 subscribers. Okay, so I'm not unearthing a rare channel for you. His name is Tom Ayling, Ayling. He's a British guy. He fucking loves Tolkien too. When he goes through like his top 10 book sales of the year, Tolkien is usually up there, whether it's Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit. Some of the other ones are like Lewis Carroll. He does a lot of Bibles and Qurans. But check him out. Check out some of the cool books that he's buying and selling. And yeah, just use that information. Look for subtle clues. That's really all that I did, you know. He's not talking about going to thrift stores, but yeah, just alter that, you know, in your fucking brain. The other person that you should check out on YouTube, his name is Moon's Rare Books. This guy is a bit less popular. He has 126,000 subscribers. He's an older guy. He gives you like comfortable feelings. Maybe that's just me. Maybe he just gives me comfortable feelings. This guy has like an at-home library. He has a store that it sort of looks like, what's that alleyway in Harry Potter where everything just looks so fucking cozy? But each sort of shop within his own shop, so it's each little room is themed. So he has like a room that's dedicated to movies, like books as movies. He has another room, I guess, that's dedicated to Alice in Wonderland. This guy is just a really good, informative, rare book collector. So check out those two people if you want to learn more about rare books, or I guess just continue listening to the podcast and I'll find a few maybe in the future and you can learn from me. But I'll just say that I'm no book king. I'm just telling you that now. I'm no book king. I get lucky. That's about it. So you can obviously tell I was excited about that find, but what I found next on Facebook Marketplace made me just as excited. And it should make you excited too, because the next two things were both bought for $5, yet sell for over $100. So if you have $5 in your wallet and a mode of transportation, then you too can recreate this success. And granted, these things haven't sold yet. One of them still isn't listed. But these were really, really cool. So I think it was over the weekend. Honestly, the days are still blurring together because I'm in holiday mode. I found on Facebook Marketplace a 12-inch Small Soldiers action figure. Now, the title of the listing just said Small Soldiers figure. That's all that it said. But once I did a quick Google Lens search, because this is a taller one than usual. You know, the normal size, I guess, is what, like 6 inches? Is that the average size of action figures? I have no idea. But once I did a quick Google Lens, it showed that this is a 12-inch Major Chip Hazard Sean Connery. Major Chip Hazard talking action figure for $5. Now, before I Google Lens it, I, of course, sent through the default "Hi, is this available?" message, jumped over to Google Lens, saw that, went back, and then did my little customized message. Now, Small Soldiers is something else that I grew up with. Man, I should have said that earlier when I was going through my phases, because Small Soldiers was definitely up there. I had all of the action figures. I remember playing with them. I'm sure there was some overlap between Small Soldiers and Lord of the Rings where, you know, Archer went up against fucking Gandalf, right? So I sent through the message. She said to me that multiple people were interested, but for some reason she was talking to me and seemed to lean towards me. I've had really good luck on Facebook Marketplace when you are just like a normal human being and you don't rush things and you don't force people to, I don't know, they feel like get backed into a corner and then they don't want to deal with people like that. I mean, I'm just assuming that I just am friendly with people and they seem to like gravitate towards that. So she said that I can get it if I can go out, and I did. Went out there with $5. I didn't even have to go to the bank. I was able to scrounge together $5 in loose change. And I pick it up, drive back home, and then I did what, I mean, everyone will do when they get something that supposedly talks, is you turn to the back and you get a screwdriver and you're just thinking to yourself, how bad is this going to be? So I unscrew the back of this talking action figure. Now, I don't know if you're not familiar with Small Soldiers, man, this is a movie that came out in the 90s. Or did it come out in the 2000s? It was one of those movies. Maybe I should ask Siri. Hey, Siri, when did Small Soldiers come out? 1998. Okay, I was 6 years old. So it came out in the 1998, starring a young Kirsten Dunst. And it was basically a story about toys coming alive and fighting against each other. There was the soldiers versus like the Gorgonites, you know, and the humans are brought into that little war between them. That's a really poor description of Small Soldiers, by the way. So anyway, unscrewing the screw, and then I can see that there are batteries in the back of this toy. And you know, when I was talking to the lady, she said this was her son's, who is now 34 years old, and I think these batteries had been in this toy all that time. You know, I pressed the button, I turned it on. I don't know why. These fucking batteries are completely destroyed. They're leaking everywhere. And my dumb brain is like, does it still work? No, it doesn't fucking work. So I take them out, man, and I just have to clean it. I have to clean it and pray that this is going to work. You know, you can still sell it, obviously, without it working, but you're going to get so much more if it is. So I give it a clean. I get in there with some water, cotton buds, whatever. I chuck batteries back in and it doesn't work. So, you know, I'm starting to get, I mean, I don't know how to properly clean leaked battery acid. I could ask Siri, I could Google it. But at that point in time, you know, I was like an all or nothing. Like, well, I guess I'm gonna spray some WD-40 on the little battery terminal and see what happens. And I get a cotton bud, and I spray the WD-40 on the cotton bud, and then I go in there and I just start attacking those little battery terminals. And, you know, they were so corroded that bits of them started to fall off, yes. The little springs in the battery pack, they literally fell off because the fucking battery acid had corroded through them, man. Luckily, there was still enough left over, so I cleaned all that out. I left it for a while, let it dry. I put batteries back in there, and what do you know? This thing fucking works. He talks. He says a couple of catchphrases from the movie. It's Tommy Lee Jones voicing this soldier, and it's his real voice. So now we have a 12-inch talking Major Chip Hazard working. Fucking brilliant. There's only one active listing on eBay within Australia, and he's asking just over $100. So I'm like, I'm going to do the same. If there's only one there, as soon as his sells, or as soon as mine sells, then, that's the baseline for the price. So I match his price, and it's $110. So that's going to be 5 into 110. This thing's going to be so easy to ship. It's a fucking action figure. Chuck it in a padded mailer. It'll probably fit in a small padded mailer and get it out the door for like $10. 5 into 100. What's cool about this is it was actually something that I was interested in, or I was once interested in, or something I still think is cool, like Small Soldiers action figure. You very rarely see them on Facebook Marketplace. When you do, they're usually priced up by other resellers. But to see it for $5 and to be able to snag it when other people were interested, like that just shows, man, Facebook Marketplace, you can still get things cheap and make money on. I'm thinking of doing like a fucking series on all these $5 steals that I've been able to get, because the next item was also $5, and this one was even better because it was just up the road. It was like 3 minutes up the road, and I talked about it briefly. I think I mentioned it briefly. 3 minutes up the road. Of course I drove though, because fuck the environment. So I drove up there. The lady said that she was going to leave it out on her front doorstep, and I park in the driveway, I get out, and I can't see anything. There's the one thing I hate about Facebook Marketplace is people aren't very descriptive, or they're not familiar with the process of picking something up. I guess this is the dilemma that delivery people have too, because, this would be the dilemma of delivery people. This is why I'm so descriptive when I'm talking to people on Facebook Marketplace, or even my delivery drivers. I tell them, in most cases, I send them through a photo of the driveway from Google Maps, and I circle the street, like the cross street. I circle my driveway. I say park here, and then if I'm doing a Facebook Marketplace pickup where somebody's coming to me, and I use my magic freezer, I say it's right here in the freezer, and I put the photo in the Facebook Messenger, and I circle things. You cannot go wrong. The only people that can go wrong are fucking dumber than me. So I go to this place. She said she had it out on the front step, and I'm looking around like I'm casing the joint, right? Like I'm gonna break in. I can't see it. Then I have to do the whole I can't fucking find it. And you're feeling like an idiot too. Like, I can't see it. Am I blind? Did you leave it out? I knock on the door, which is something I don't usually do when it's going to be one of those non-contact pickups. There's a reason why they want non-contact. I don't know what. Maybe they've fucking got. I was going to say cooties. No, maybe they have cooties. They're going to infect me, right? Knock on the door, ring the doorbell, no answer. So I'm feeling like an idiot. I get back in the car. I send her a message saying there's nothing there. She replies instantly saying, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I was in the back garden." I'm looking around. I'm like, this is an apartment block. Like, where the fuck is the back garden? So I get back out of the car and I knock on the door. She opens it, apologizes, and gives me what is an iPod Nano 3rd generation. I got this for $5. It came with a little pouch and a little protective plastic case, and I had already paid for it with Pay ID. So I was thinking before she opened the door, like, did I just get scammed? And I thought, like, are you seriously scamming people $5 at a time? Like, this is the worst way to scam people, man. But no, she opens the door. She gives me the fucking iPod. She proceeds to apologize, and then her fucking kid runs outside. The kid is naked. So I'm like grabbing the iPod and at the same time like covering my eyes and like looking away almost as if I don't want to, like, it's just so, it's very uncomfortable. She's like trying to shield the kid too. And yeah, I'm just like averting my eyes, looking away. She was sort of like mid-conversation too of apologizing. I'm just like, oh, thanks, bye. I'm out of here, man. This is fucking awkward. She sends me a message afterwards being like, I'm so sorry about that. With a couple of like weird, like shy, sad, freaked out emojis. Like, no, it's fine. It's fine. So I get the iPod and I bring it home. This thing comps up for about $130. So those two Facebook Marketplace pickups, $10 in total, and total listed value is going to be close to $250. And I didn't have to go far for them either. Like, that's the thing with Facebook Marketplace. You set your own radius, you set your own distance, how far you want to travel. And when something pops up, and it's just up the road, just go and pick it up and you can make some fucking money. So that was really cool. Facebook Marketplace, Small Soldiers action figure, iPod Nano, 10 into 250. And just remember with iPods, they're so overlooked, they're so undervalued on Marketplace. Most of them don't have their chargers anymore, they don't have their headphones, so people don't know if they're working, so they give them away for prices like this. And I think it was in last episode's podcast that I talked about iPods coming back. I think the same thing is happening with CD players. I heard it on the radio, so it must be true. Kids reverting back to this shit because, I mean, phones are destroying everyone's life. So maybe there's money to be made coming up with iPods, CD players, old school technology. I mean, we know this though, right? We know that old technology is coming back. So buy it now while you can. If there's none on your Facebook Marketplace, just scrolling through, search it in Facebook Marketplace. Nothing will come up. And then just wait for Facebook to start feeding you that stuff. Because I legitimately think that is a thing. So 2 good finds there. The next thing, okay, we're going to jump back to a thrift store. I was walking through it and I started to see some old school like BMX skating merchandise. So I saw like in the photo frame aisle, the thrift store employees had put like these tech deck skateboard things, like skateboard ramps. I saw them, I was like, oh, that's cool. I remember these from when I was younger. I'm not going to buy them because they were just the ramps. But okay, that's cool. Then I walk over to like the toy aisle. I'm going through the store and I can see like this sealed metal militia bike, like a toy bike, like a bike kids can play with. Not a full-size bike, a fucking toy bike. I'm like, okay, this is like starting to see a theme happening here. Somebody's donated all of their old shit and they're like into old school BMX, like metal militia, that sort of shit. That bike, weirdly enough, comped up to like $100-$200 for active listings, but I didn't buy it because there was no sold listings and the packaging was a bit fucked. But anyway, I'm walking throughout the rest of the thrift store and I'm thinking like, what else is here that's BMX skateboarding related? And I get to the VHS section. I can see 3 VHS in the old school slip cases from the late 90s. One of them was called The End. One was called it's like 42 VM, and another one was called Genesis. And I look in the cover on these VHS. What do you know? They're old skateboarding cassette tapes. The End has Tony Hawk on it, you know, the most popular skater of all time. Genesis seems to be like just another old school skateboarding tape, and the 42 VM I think was like an old skateboarding magazine that also put out videos, because the VM stood for like Visual Magazine, and 42 or 411, whatever the fuck it is, I guess was the name of it, and this was like volume 27. They were priced at like $2.49 each. And I thought these must go for a bit of money because there is money in old skateboarding shit. I looked up the comps. The comps for Tony Hawk's VHS, The End on VHS, it's from 1998. There are sold comps for about $100 just for this cassette tape that's priced at $2.49. I have photos of the comps on the Flip Weekly newsletter. You can check it out. Now, in terms of the Genesis one, there is no sold comps, but there's one active listing with 16 people watching it, and that's priced at $82 in the US. So this thing close to $100 too. And that other one, the 411 Visual VM tapes, whatever the fuck it's called, you can average about $50 on those, depending on the issue. I had issue number 27. I guess they must have had at least 27 cassette tapes, and some are rarer, the others whatever. So we have a value close to $250, and not many people have these listed. So especially within Australia, this is mostly US. So I want a quick sale. I've chucked them up on eBay for $150, but this is just like a PSA to you that old skateboarding shit, man, this stuff on cassette, on DVD, you can get so much money for it. And people are selling like bundles of their old cassette skateboarding tapes. And man, the more you have, obviously the more that you can get, but there are sold comps in the hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Now, unfortunately for me, one of these tapes had the dreaded mold on it. I actually opened it up at the thrift store and I could see mold on one of the tapes, but I bought it anyway. And I thought, let's just bring it home and see what happens. Now, here's what I did. And I was like, fuck it, let's just do it. I was like, I'm going to clean this thing. You know, what's the worst that could happen? I make it work because I tested it out and it didn't fucking work. So what's the worst that could happen? So I open it up and I jump onto YouTube and I type in VHS clean mold, and I had a random video there, and he had step-by-step instructions. The instructions were basically like, you probably shouldn't be doing this. Like, it's gonna fuck it up, right? Like, this is a magnetic tape, you cannot touch it. The mold has probably destroyed the tape, it's worthless, but if you're gonna do it, this is how you open it up. And I watched I watched the video first, and just, I don't know, I was curious. There's very few moving parts within a cassette tape. So like when you're opening up a Sony Walkman, for example, one of the portable cassette players, there are so many moving parts that if screws and shit just like catapult out, it's very confusing on how to put it back together. But with the cassette tapes, very few moving parts. So I remove the 5 screws on the back and then it just pulls apart, right? But the sticker on the front of the cassette tape is connected to both sides of the cassette plastic. So it's going to bend a bit. So that's fine. I open it up and I can see all of the mold. It is on the underside of the plastic that's holding the reel in. So it's not like I can just get a Q-tip and rub all that off, because that plastic thing that's over the top of the tape doesn't come off. There's no screw to take it off. Oh, by the way, first I'm testing this on a old cassette tape that I wasn't going to sell, that I was going to like donate, but I ended up throwing it out because I fucked it. I'm just testing it all out, right? And I realize in order to clean the mold off this, I have to manually wheel the tape from one end of the cassette to the other, and when mold appeared, like at the front of the tape, then I can remove it with the Q-tip. Now, I was told in the video this is like a 2 to 3 hour process. And I was having some drinks, so I wasn't too sure if I was following the instructions correctly. I didn't even know if it was really talking about this, but I was like, to be fair, I wasn't really paying attention. I was unreeling the magnetic tape, and whenever I saw a bit of mold, I just sort of like flicked it off with the Q-tip. And I did that for the entire magnetic tape. You have to manually, like, it's sort of like, you know, when you chuck a VHS in the player and you hit the rewind button, the tape goes from one spool to the other really, really fast. You're doing that with your fingers. While I was doing that, I would say maybe like 3 to 4 times, the tape came off the roller and then everything just got fucked. And I'm thinking as I'm doing this, like, you're not supposed to touch this tape. And I've unreeled it and like wheeled it back together multiple fucking times. So, I mean, I'm really fucking this tape. Eventually I got all of the tape from one end, from one spool to the other. I've gone through it. It's honestly, you can't see mold on it anymore, at least to my naked eye. I have photos again in the Flip Weekly newsletter. And I'm thinking it might have been like the booze talking, but I was thinking I've just solved this problem of mold on tapes. I'm so delusional that I'm thinking like this could be a business idea. Like, it's so fucking stupid, man. It's like, send me in your tapes and I'll manually remove the mold. Knowing now, of course, that the mold like it fucks the tapes. You can't just wipe it away, sweep it under the rug, and it goes away. It fucks the tapes, man. So I put the tape back in my cassette tape player, which you probably shouldn't do because it can fuck the tape players. I put it back in and there's some video on the screen. There's no audio. Oh, wait. Maybe there was audio. There was a bit of audio and the video was pretty fucked up. You couldn't see a clear picture. But I'm patting myself on the back. I'm patting myself on the back because I didn't completely fuck the tape. I might have fucked the VHS player, which is worth like twice the amount of the tape, but I mean, visually, this is why I'm patting myself on the back, because visually it looks fixed. I mean, but deep down it's not fixed. That's a good metaphor for me too, right? Actually, no, I still look like that moldy tape. I don't look visually fixed. What the fuck? But anyway, I listed all 3 up and I noted that one of the tapes doesn't really work. I mean, it doesn't work. I just said it doesn't work. But in the eBay photos, there is no mold present. So maybe the person that buys, I don't know. In the eBay photos, there's no mold. So it makes it look a tiny bit better, even though it doesn't work. So if you're thinking to yourself, should I attempt to clean a VHS tape? I would say, first of all, no, because I don't think it's going to work. Second of all, you want to be following instructions, even though it's very, very straightforward. And three, probably do it without, combining it with a glass of bourbon. Did I say how much I listed it up for? I listed all three for $150. All right, before we get into what has sold, I'll talk about really quick the Sony PlayStation 2 limited edition pink console that was fully boxed. Unfortunately, it was returned to me. Now, this is what happened. Before Christmas time, I sold it on eBay after buying it for $200. The person paid $550 at the beginning of December. It was going to be a Christmas present. And then on Christmas Day, I received a message stating that it just wasn't working. And that was after he had said that they had played it for 15 minutes. Then it basically just crapped itself. Now, on Christmas Day, I was reading these messages and I was going through the steps of like, can you test this? Can you test that? Because, when you're in tech or when you're in IT and you deal with some people and their tech literacy, you don't know whether they're, I guess, tech literate or not. And some people, they don't know that you need to like turn things on properly, or have you tried turning it off and on again? It's a meme for a reason. So I went through all of these steps and this guy replies to me with some steps that he's taken that even I don't know what they are. So when he was telling me some of this stuff, I was thinking like, I wonder if this is like the old eBay switcheroo. Somebody buys an item, they switch it with their own, and then they send it back claiming it didn't work. But just for context, I want to read out some of these messages of what he actually tried to do, and that you'll see why I was a bit, I wouldn't say suspicious, I was just like, wow, this guy knows what he's talking about. So first of all, the message he initially sent at 10 p.m. on the 25th of December, a great Christmas message, was the console stopped working after a single run of SSX Tricky. Any ideas? That was at 10:07. Then at 10:08 he said, think it's video output. It was only open today as it's a Christmas present and it didn't last 15 minutes. So that's when I told him all of these different things to try and do. And he replies that night as well. He said to me, hi Matt, system worked for about 15 minutes. TV stopped displaying anything, replaced the video cables, still nothing. Tried a different TV, both Samsung, still nothing. Changed canes, consoles runs and appears to be doing things but no display. I don't know what canes means. Plugged in iToy, more indicators, console recognized, no display. Plugged in SingStar microphones, also appeared to recognize electronically but still nothing. Tried different display. And then he goes on to say, also tried disk out, no signal screen. Then he said, I hit the down arrow X, down arrow, down arrow, down arrow X, left X. I'm thinking like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Where did you read that? This sounds like a game cheat code, right? A cheat code to make a PlayStation start working again. I read that and I was like, where is he getting this information from? Then he says, video signal resets. Go to system config video output. 2 options appear. And then it's like YCB-PB-CRPR. And man, again, late on Christmas Day. And this is the last thing I want to be dealing with because, again, I may not have been of sound mind, and I'm reading this. I'm just thinking like, I don't know what this means. To this day, I still don't know what this means. And he even goes on. I'm not going to go through it anymore, but he went through all of this shit, and it just didn't seem to work. He sent it back, and I tried it out. It didn't work here. I tried doing, he did all of this, and I'm like, is it plugged in? Is the cable plugged into the TV? Nothing worked. So unfortunately, I had to send this guy a refund. That's just the way it works. I sent him back $550. Man, my eBay account literally went into minus $550. I had a couple of sales since then, so the minus part has gone up a bit, which is good. But then I listed the PlayStation back onto eBay today. I put it up for $300, listed it as faulty for parts only. I've had somebody contact me after maybe it being live for 30 minutes saying that if they can do 280, if I can do 280, he'll buy it and he'll pay tomorrow. So I'm going to do that because fuck it. 280, it's out of my hair. After post and after fees, I probably will break even. Now, that's not a good thing to happen. Breaking even on an eBay deal or on a thrifting deal very rarely happens to me, because obviously we want to buy things for $1, sell them for $100. To buy something for $200 and to sell it for $280, man, that's it. I shake my head at it. I really shouldn't have, like, I really wish that this didn't happen, because it looks so bad, man. For me to be talking about reselling and then to say I'm breaking even on a product, I can just imagine you sitting at home being like, why the fuck am I listening to somebody who is breaking even, right? It's so stupid, but I'm just talking about this because it happens. It happens. These things just happen. It was working for me. It was working for the person I bought it from. And then it worked for this guy for 15 minutes and then it didn't. That's just technology, right? So if it happens to you, look, all you can do is refund the money, get it back, and then sell it for parts. And if you're selling this sort of stuff, you can get money for parts. You can get parts for fucking anything. I'm sure eventually we will learn that you can get body parts. I mean, a black market for body parts. Like, that's a fucking thing, isn't it? So I'm disappointed with that. And I'm disappointed to have to say that. But look, that's okay, because we have some sales to talk about. And we certainly didn't break even on these sales. We made a lot of money with these sales. The first that was picked up in a thrift store for $5.50 just last week was sold on Marketplace. It is the Horus Heresy Warhammer book, The Crimson King. Hardcover Warhammer, found in a Savers, coming home from my sister's place. $5.49. It is sold for $180. Just for a random fucking book. Now, this isn't the first time I've found this particular series, the Horus Heresy. It probably won't be my last either, because there's 54 books in the series and every single one of them is valuable. The way that I'm able to distinguish them when they're in thrift stores is they have like a black spine with gold writing. And that's usually a giveaway to me. And I get really annoyed when other book series and other books use that exact same spine, because I get so excited, because every time I found these books, I'm like, oh my God, this is a $200, $300 book. I mean, in this case, it was Marketplace, so $180. I think I had it on eBay for $250, but the guy bought this for $180. He came, I left it out on my freezer like I do, putting trust in people, which will eventually come back and bite me in the ass. But I was able to then go down to the magic freezer after putting a book in, and all of a sudden $180 appears. Thank you to the magic freezer. And thank you to Warhammer and the Horus Heresy for being out of print and making us a shit ton of money. If you want to see that book, by the way, go to flipweekly.com, check out the newsletter. I also recorded a video finding all of these Warhammer books from last week. I might put that out once a few more sell, so that everyone can see what the bought price was and what the sold prices were. Now, the next thing that sold, it was a Nintendo Game Boy Color. This is the Pokemon Limited Edition one. It has, Pikachu. It's yellow. I bought this in a huge bundle off like a 4-year-old child. It didn't have the back battery pack, the battery cover on it. And I had it listed for, it must have been at least a month. It wasn't getting any action. It was priced up. As soon as I was going to buy the battery cover for it on eBay, you can get them for like $5, except I thought it was going to sell quickly. So I thought by the time I buy it and it gets delivered to me, it's going to be out the door and it would be a waste of money, even though it's only $5. So eventually I was like, fuck it. I bought the battery cover for $5 off eBay. It got delivered. I took the listing down, put the battery cover on the Game Boy, relisted it with a new photo, and it pretty much sold within a week or two, and that sold for $250. Pokemon plus Game Boy plus fucking any video game, always going to make you a ton of money. Now, you would have seen on Instagram, I also had a jersey sale. I found this Tom Brady Tampa Bay Buccaneers 2020 jersey from Vinny's for $35. These American sports jerseys, they're a dime a dozen in thrift stores. I always see them, but to find an authentic one is really difficult. You really need to look at the wash tags. You need to look at the quality of the jersey, look at the logos, the prints, fucking everything. Even the weight comes into it to be able to tell it's authentic. I've talked about them so many times, I'm not going to get into it now, but I paid $35 for it in Vinny's and it is sold for $150. And that didn't take very long to sell. Now, this week I picked up VHS cassette tapes. I have sold some VHS cassette tapes, not for a lot of money. It only sold for $50, but I think it was towards the end of last year, or maybe like Q3 2025, I bought this huge box of VHS cassettes. It had a DVD VHS combo. I think I paid $100 for everything. And it's because I could see a Wiggles VHS on the top of the box. And I thought, well, if there's one on the top of the box, maybe there's more inside. And luckily for me, there was. Because one of those Wiggles VHS sold, this isn't the sale, but it sold for like $250. You can see that on Flip Weekly newsletter. I don't think I talked about it on the podcast. Might have been before the podcast. But within that box was also some older movies. We had like The Grinch. We had The Cable Guy, Ace Ventura. And I was just going to donate these to the thrift store until I realized, like, well, there's a whole bunch of Jim Carrey VHS cassette tapes. So I counted them up, and all of a sudden we started to get a stack. And then there's 11 Jim Carrey VHS. So I'm like, okay, let's chuck them on eBay. Let's see if people are going to be buying old cassette tapes if we lot them together as like the one actor. I started at $100, and over the past maybe 6 months, I reduced the price just to get rid of them because these cunts are heavy and they get in the way, and I just wanted them gone. I didn't include postage, so the person had to pay postage on top of it. I got it down to the $50 mark. Somebody has paid it. It was out the door for like $50 plus. I think it was like $25 worth of post. So this, I guess, proves that if you find cassette tapes, VHS, and they've got something in common, you can sell them as a lot. And you can get maybe like $50 per 10 of them. So if you're at a garage sale and you can get them for like maybe, I don't know, 20 cents each because people don't value them, you might be able to lot them up, $50 plus post, and make a bit of money that way. You just got to make sure they work and that there's no mold, because as we've established, you can't really fix them if there's mold on them. All right, if you want more Flip Weekly content, go to the newsletter at flipweekly.com. If you want even more than that, go to our social media. It's Flip Weekly on all social media platforms, including YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. If you're listening on Spotify, please rate and review the podcast. If you're on YouTube, please like, please comment, please subscribe. And look, we have a big one next week coming to you, including a giveaway. So stay tuned for that. And thank you again for listening. Enjoy garage sales on the weekend. I hope you find some cool shit. I'll see you again next week. Goodbye.
Flip, 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 flip.
Flip Weekly.